Last time we went through 11 of the 12 judges of ancient Israel, portrayed in the Deuteronomistic history. Othniel, Ehud, Shamgar, Deborah, Gideon, Tola, Jair, Jephthah, Ibzan, Elon, and Abdon. This time we're looking at the 12th judge, and finishing out the book of Judges. The story of Samson begins in Judges chapter 13, and it's a very unusual story, likely having its origins in ancient Phoenician or Philistine culture. These people were connected to ancient Mediterranean Greek culture, and one may see how the story of Samson is very similar to stories such as Hercules. A strange man appears to a woman and says she will have a son. He tells her that her son will be a Nazarite from birth and gives her specific instructions. She tells her husband Manoah about the strange man. Manoah comes to see the strange man later on and offers him a meal, but the man does not need food and tells them to use it to make a sacrifice to God. Manoah asks what the man's name is, and the man says, "Why do you ask my name? It is beyond understanding." As they make their sacrifice, the man ascends in the flames. Manoah freaks out and says they're gonna die because they just had an encounter with God and didn't know it. But his wife reassures him that God wouldn't have given them such good news if he wanted to kill them. She gives birth to a son and names him Samson. At this point, the Philistines have become prominent in the narrative. Samson is a Nazarite from birth, but he is constantly breaking his covenant. He does so secretly by eating honey out of a dead lion's carcass and then taking some of it with him to give to his parents. Kind of like when I shared my donuts with my roommates but didn't tell them that I found them in the dumpster. He also gets drunk for 7 days and marries a Philistine woman, saying she is right in my eyes. Samson is weak towards women and loses a bet/riddle/game with the Philistines because he gives in to the nagging of his wife. He leaves his wedding in a rage, and the Philistines give his wife to another man. Later, he comes back to patch things up with his bride by bringing her a goat, only to hear from his father-in-law, "I gave her to the best man because I thought you hated her." In revenge, Samson lights 300 foxes on fire and sets them loose in the Philistines' crops, and they retaliate by burning his wife. The people of Judah hand Samson over to the Philistines because he's out of control. However, Samson breaks the ropes that bind him and slaughters 1,000 men with a donkey's jawbone. He's quite pleased with himself and makes up a little ditty singing, "With an ass's jawbone, I've made asses out of them." We also learn that Samson sleeps with prostitutes. On one occasion, he only spends half the night with a prostitute because he knows people are coming to arrest him, and he gets up in the night and walks off with the city gates on his shoulders. Later, he meets and falls in love with Delilah. Delilah's name literally means "of the night." Samson's name, in contrast, means sunshine. The point is, what does light have in common with darkness? The Philistines pay Delilah 1,100 pieces of silver to betray Samson. And Samson is so stupid that he falls for Delilah's trick and lets her cut his hair, and he is humiliated before Dagon, the god of the Philistines. Samson falls further into darkness when the Philistines poke out his eyes. However, Samson's final act of suicidal terrorism brings about a partial deliverance to the people. In chapter 17, the character of Micah is introduced. Micah's mother may have been Delilah. Micah returns 1,100 pieces of silver to her which had been stolen, and she uses 200 of these 1,100 pieces of silver to build an idol in order to honor Yahweh. This is very twisted in nature and shows the backwardness of the time period. Micah makes an ephod and appoints his own son as priest of his illegitimate shrine. He hires a Levite as a priest, but everything about the arrangement is illegitimate. Micah is from Ephraim, but his association with the Danites may be implying that Micah was Samson's illegitimate son. The Danites move north and take Micah's priest and idol with them, and later, Moses' own grandson becomes the idolatrous priest of the Danites. Later, a second Levite arrives on the scene in order to retrieve his wife who has fled from him to the house of her father in Bethlehem. On their way back, they spend the night in the town of Gibeah in the territory of Benjamin. The men of Gibeah come out to commit sodomy with the Levite, but instead the Levite offers them his wife/concubine, and they brutally rape her all night. In the morning, the Levite sees her lying on the doorstep, and he cuts her body up into 12 pieces. He sends a piece of her to each of the 12 tribes. A civil war then erupts against Benjamin, with Judah leading the way in battle, and all but 600 men of Benjamin are killed. The end of the book deals with the 11 tribes attempting to avoid the complete extinction of Benjamin by providing the remaining 600 men with wives. They do so by staging a giant kidnapping of several hundred girls from the towns that refused to participate in the civil war. The book closes by echoing the words of Samson, saying, "At that time, there was no king in Israel. Everyone did what was right in their own eyes." It would seem that in the book of Judges, the tribe of Judah is the favored one. In chapter 1, the model judge Othniel is from Judah. The victories ascribed to Moses, Joshua, and Caleb elsewhere in the Bible are given to Judah in the book of Judges. It would also seem that the book of Judges is indicating that the north is bad. According to Judges, it was the northern tribes who failed to drive out the Canaanites in the land. Othniel is the good judge and hails from Judah, but other judges are from the north and are portrayed as being not as good. This helps to set up the Saul-David conflict that comes later in the Deuteronomistic history. As Judges progresses, it begins to show the tribes besides Judah to be growing worse and worse, especially the tribe of Benjamin, from where Saul later comes. More specifically, Saul comes from Gibeah of Benjamin, the location of the attempted sodomy, gang rape, and murder of the Levite's wife/concubine, and the scene of the Great Civil War at the end of the book. The Deuteronomistic history intentionally portrays Saul negatively by showing his association with Benjamin, among other things, while at the same time portraying David positively by showing his association with the more faithful tribe of Judah. The narrative is asking, which is the legitimate leadership, David of Judah or Saul of Benjamin?